The alarm clock screamed at 4:30 a.m., but Sarah Martinez was already awake. She'd been staring at the ceiling for the past hour, calculating numbers in her head. Rent due in 5 days, grocery money running low, and her daughter Emma's school field trip permission slip sitting on the kitchen counter with a price tag she couldn't afford. At 32 years old, Sarah felt like she was carrying the weight of the entire world on her shoulders. And some mornings, she wasn't sure she had the strength to get out of bed. But then, she heard it. The soft breathing of her 7-year-old daughter sleeping peacefully in the next room. And just like that, Sarah found her reason to fight for another day. 3 years ago, Sarah's life looked completely different. She had been married to her high school sweetheart, David, living in a comfortable suburban home with dreams of expanding their family. She worked part-time as a dental assistant, and life seemed predictable and safe. But predictable doesn't always mean permanent. One rainy Tuesday evening, David came home and announced he was leaving. "There was someone else," he said. "He was sorry," he said. "But sorry doesn't pay the bills. And sorry doesn't tuck a confused little girl into bed when she asks why daddy doesn't live with them anymore." Within months, Sarah found herself signing divorce papers, moving into a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in a rough neighborhood, and trying to explain to Emma why their life had been turned completely upside down. The first year was the darkest. Sarah worked full-time at the dental office, but the salary barely covered rent and basic necessities. Child support payments were inconsistent at best, and David's promises to stay involved in Emma's life faded like morning fog. There were nights when Sarah would sit in her car after work, gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white, and she would allow herself exactly 5 minutes to cry. 5 minutes to feel the overwhelming despair, the crushing loneliness, the burning anger at how unfair life had become. But after those 5 minutes, she would wipe her tears, check her reflection in the rearview mirror, and paint on a smile before walking into the apartment where Emma waited. Because no matter how broken Sarah felt inside, she refused to let her daughter see her mother shattered. Money became an obsession born of necessity. Sarah clipped coupons religiously, shopped at thrift stores, and learned to make a single chicken last for 4 different meals. She took on extra shifts whenever possible, which meant leaving Emma with neighbors, or, on desperate occasions, letting her daughter sit quietly in the dental office break room doing homework after school. The guilt was suffocating. Sarah would watch other mothers at Emma's school, mothers with pressed clothes and fresh manicures, mothers who could afford to volunteer as room parents and bring elaborate snacks for class parties, and she felt like a failure. She couldn't afford to buy Emma the trendy sneakers the other kids wore. She couldn't say yes to birthday party invitations that required expensive gifts. She couldn't be the Pinterest-perfect mother she had always imagined she would be. But what Sarah didn't realize was that Emma wasn't keeping track of what they didn't have. Emma was watching something far more valuable. She was watching her mother fight. Every morning when Sarah woke up exhausted and still pushed forward. Every evening when Sarah helped with homework despite working a double shift. Every weekend when Sarah turned their tiny apartment into an adventure with blanket forts and indoor picnics because they couldn't afford to go anywhere else. Emma was learning resilience, determination, and the true meaning of love not from words, but from watching her mother live those values every single day. The breaking point came on a particularly brutal winter evening. Sarah's car had broken down. The repair estimate was $800 she didn't have, and she had just been told that her hours at the dental office were being cut due to budget constraints. She sat at her kitchen table, staring at a mountain of bills, feeling like she was drowning with no lifeline in sight. For the first time since the divorce, Sarah allowed herself to think the unthinkable. Maybe Emma would be better off without her. Maybe David and his new wife could provide a better life. Maybe she wasn't strong enough for this impossible challenge. That's when Emma walked into the kitchen, dragging her favorite stuffed bear. "Mommy, why are you crying?" Sarah quickly wiped her eyes, but Emma had already seen. The little girl climbed into her mother's lap, wrapping her small arms around Sarah's neck. "It's okay to be sad sometimes, Mommy. You tell me that all the time." And then Emma said something that would change everything. "You're my hero, you know. You're the strongest person in the whole world." Something shifted in that moment. Sarah realized that giving up wasn't just about her anymore. It would teach Emma that when life gets hard, you surrender. And that was a lesson Sarah refused to pass on to her daughter. That night, after Emma fell asleep, Sarah made a decision. She would stop merely surviving and start fighting for the life they deserved. She didn't know exactly how yet, but she knew she had to try. Sarah started researching opportunities for advancement. She discovered that her dental office would pay for employees to get certified as dental hygienists, a position that paid significantly more than her current role. The program would take 18 months and require night classes twice a week, which meant even less time with Emma and juggling an already impossible schedule. But Sarah enrolled anyway. She asked her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, a retired teacher who had always been kind to them, if she could watch Emma on class nights in exchange for Sarah helping with her grocery shopping and yard work on weekends. Mrs. Chen agreed immediately, and suddenly, Sarah had a path forward. The next 18 months tested every ounce of Sarah's resolve. She would wake at 4:30 a.m. to study before work, put in a full shift at the dental office, rush home to make dinner and help Emma with homework, then head to night classes until 10 p.m. On weekends, she studied between loads of laundry and cleaning apartments. There were days when she ran on 4 hours of sleep and pure determination. There were moments when she wanted to quit, when the exhaustion was so overwhelming that she couldn't remember why she had started this insane journey in the first place. But every time she wanted to give up, something would happen to remind her why she was fighting. Emma would bring home a perfect spelling test and say, "I studied hard just like you, Mommy." A patient at the dental office would thank Sarah for her gentle care and kind words. Mrs. Chen would leave a plate of homemade cookies on their doorstep with a note that said, "Proud of you." These tiny moments of connection and encouragement became the fuel that kept Sarah moving forward when everything in her body and mind screamed to stop. The day Sarah passed her certification exam, she picked up Emma from school early. They went to the park, their special place for important conversations, and Sarah told her daughter that all the hard work, all the sacrifices, all the nights apart had been worth it. She had done it. Sarah would start her new position as a dental hygienist in 2 weeks, with a salary that would finally allow them to breathe. Emma hugged her mother so tightly that Sarah felt like all the broken pieces inside her were finally starting to mend. The new position changed everything. Within 6 months, Sarah had saved enough for a reliable used car. Within a year, they moved to a better apartment in a safer neighborhood with a small backyard where Emma could play. Sarah could afford to say yes to the field trips, to buy Emma new clothes instead of thrift store hand-me-downs, to take her daughter to the movies without counting every dollar. But more than the financial stability, Sarah had gained something even more valuable. She had proven to herself that she was capable of anything she set her mind to. Emma is 12 now, and Sarah often catches her daughter watching her with a look of deep admiration. Recently, Emma told her mother that she wants to be just like you when she grows up. Not a dental hygienist necessarily, but someone who never gives up no matter how hard things get. Sarah realizes now that the greatest gift she ever gave her daughter wasn't material things or comfortable circumstances. It was the living example of resilience, courage, and unconditional love. Looking back, Sarah understands that being a single mother forced her to discover strength she never knew she possessed. The woman who once felt like a failure for not being able to afford fancy sneakers now sees herself differently. She raised a confident, compassionate, hardworking daughter. She transformed her career and her life through sheer determination. She learned that being a hero doesn't mean never falling down. It means getting back up every single time, no matter how many times you hit the ground. Today, Sarah mentors other single mothers at a local community center, sharing her story and offering practical advice on everything from budgeting to accessing educational programs. She tells them what she wishes someone had told her in those darkest days. You are enough. Your love is enough. Your effort is enough. And when you feel like you can't take another step, remember that your children are watching and learning. that the human spirit is unbreakable. Sarah's journey wasn't about becoming perfect or having all the answers. It was about showing up every day, even when showing up felt impossible. It was about choosing hope over despair, action over surrender, and love over fear. She learned that the measure of a good mother isn't found in bank accounts or Pinterest boards. It's found in the quiet moments of sacrifice, in the determined choice to keep fighting, and in the unconditional love that says, "I will never give up on us." Every morning now, when that alarm goes off, Sarah still wakes up early. But instead of lying awake with anxiety, she lies awake with gratitude. Gratitude for the struggle that made her stronger. Gratitude for a daughter who gave her purpose when she felt purposeless. Gratitude for the journey that broke her down, only to build her back up into someone she's truly proud to be. Sarah Martinez's story is a testament to every single mother fighting impossible battles in the quiet corners of their lives. It's proof that you don't need to be extraordinary to do extraordinary things. You just need to keep going, one day at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time. Because the greatest victories aren't won in single moments of glory, they're won in the countless small decisions to never, ever give up.